got hit in the head with a tree because I was leaning out trying to film you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sid,
Mike.
and today we got to go visit with a very special guy from Mossy Oak who's got a really cool podcast, who asked us to be on it, who happens to practically be a neighbor.
Yeah, he's 10 minutes down the road from us, so
Yeah.
this is awesome.
So, and he's going to give us a tour of his property after we do a podcast with him today. So we're very excited to hang out with Cuz today and have some good times.
And he's going to evaluate my soil samples and tell me how to plant good food plots.
Good stuff, good stuff.
See that look in your eyes. I've been hoping for a love like you for a long, long time. We got laughter, we got tears, we got each other too. From this moment we are here to stay. There ain't nothing we can't do.
And then everybody can just do a test 1, 2 and make sure the volume in your headphones is about where you want it.
So the cup's going to make a lot of noise, FYI.
Here, I got you.
Oh, look there.
Lauren's the quality.
She's
Oh,
a
look at that.
problem solver.
You want one? Are you good?
You can piggyback on that one. Okay.
Lauren did all the research about podcasts and how to get it hosted and all that kind of stuff. She's a podcast freak.
I listen to Bigfoot podcast, so I don't. I listen to all kind of crazy stuff. I was like, we can't talk about the stuff I want to listen to.
And when we get into this, I would already have had an opening, kind of explaining stuff. And you may think some of this is redundant, but we're reaching people y'all hadn't reached yet. So
Sure.
that's why I was kind of thorough on the questions. You know, it was like, and people love stories. So, okay, semi-live from the Camel Cave North. And Laureen doesn't have a headset or a microphone on because I got two people in here. I got Sid and Mike Crouch. Welcome.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
I feel like I'm in the presence of celebrities. I probably mentioned this in the opening, but the comment that led me to you guys was a comment on the podcast. Usually it's my Instagram or Facebook or something like that. But this guy, he said, man, I love this week's podcast. You need to find the Crouch Ranch, blah, blah, blah. He said, they moved somewhere near you. And I went, what? So you know what you do when you find a new YouTube channel, you binge watch. And somebody,
what I do.
Yeah, and Sid or somebody said Chickasaw County, and I went, hold on. I said, these people aren't 10 minutes from me. And I said, I got to get them on a podcast because the story is, to me, was inspiring. You know, we didn't move as far as y'all did, and we're going to get to that. It's on my question. I got a very organized question list. But first off, I want a little background on both of y'all. And whoever starts, just starts like where you grew up and all that.
He got out of jail last week. No, I'm just kidding.
I kind of felt that was the case.
No.
When I was about 15, we had built a house, and you know, we built it ourselves. Most of that was off grid. We had no electricity. We had no running water. We hadn't had a well dug yet. We were, you know, cooking on the campfire outside and hauling water in from wherever we could get it from. And finally, when I was about 15, we got power in there and had a well dug, and then the house burned down. so my folks decided to move out of state, and they moved back up to the Idaho area, and I didn't want to, so I got emancipated. I moved back to Tennessee.
Always have your toolkit. You should always. Yeah, I can't talk with my hands here. I
That's
just
okay.
realized
That's okay. Yeah, just keep them in your lap.
that's so hard. You have just asked an Italian girl to not talk with her hands. Yeah. So you know, growing up, we didn't do a lot of that kind of stuff. I didn't start, like, the first time I went fishing really was with Mike, and prior to that, and I'd never hunted. But prior to that, I did go with a fella for a while who had a little bit of land kind of out of the city limits, and so he had chickens, and we had a pig, and so I got really into that, and I was like, someday I'm gonna do this on a bigger scale. One of the first
And not just fishing. I mean, I took her up to the Eastern Sierras.
yeah.
We went camping for 10 days in the mountains and caught trout. And she said, no, you know, you're not going to clean my fish. Teach me how to clean the fish. I said, all right, we got to keep her here.
Yeah, well, that's my thing. It's like, I may do something. I want to try. I want to give it the full experience. If I don't like it, I never want to do it again. But show me from start to finish this whole process, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I gotta at least give it its full run, you know. She's been having a little bit of a hard time off and on with it, but she understands what the trade-off is, and she's okay with that. She was part of the decision. We sat down as a family and talked about it, and I think, you know, and it's not that, you know, as a family, and I think if you have a lot of kids, it's probably harder to, you know, really weigh everybody's say in the matter quite as equally. But with being an only child, I was an only child, it's more of a threesome. It's more of a network. It's a tighter little cluster in some ways, I guess. And
yeah, I mean, she doesn't get an equal vote, but she gets a vote.
Yeah, we listen to it in a way that maybe I think if we had like 4 kids, we'd be like, you know what, this is what's happening.
Right.
You know, this is not a democracy.
Right.
But because she's just who she is, and because I don't know, I guess when you have an only child, there's a lot of time where, yes, even though you socialize them and whatever, we're her only form of entertainment or interaction at a lot of times. And so she becomes able to have more adult conversations at a younger age, I think, and understand it.
Yeah, and I feel like when you acknowledge that and you reward that with asking her opinion more, and asking her to get involved more, and asking her to do something hard but rewarding it with something fun. Mm-hmm. We got to go move all of this furniture, but you get to drive the truck. You know, that's it's part of the development, you know, and I think I'm gambling that it's developing what I want her to develop into, or what I hope will be best for her. But then we got together, and Sid was never going to leave California. We had a conversation about it or two early on, and she said, I'm not leaving California. I'm not leaving my family. I'm not leaving California. And I said, all right. So I dropped it. And I don't think I ever brought it up.
He never did. He never did. I would never have known. In fact, I don't think I had just said, I think kind of casually, almost in passing during whatever conversation early on in dating, that, you know, I would never leave California. It's my home. It's where I grew up. It's where I was born. It's where my family is. And, you know, so it just never occurred to me. But then it never occurred to me that he wanted to go back to Tennessee. He talked about it like he loved it, but he always, I think, too, part of it was maybe like where you were in your life when you left Tennessee was not something you wanted to go back to.
No, that's 100% true.
So I feel like I maybe took part of that as, well, no, he wouldn't want to go back to
Tennessee. It wasn't Tennessee that I missed. It was the life that I knew I could have there. It definitely wasn't the life that I had there, but it was the life that I knew I could have there after these things that I have now learned.
This has ever happened.
So we got Mike in the back. I'm riding shotgun since I'm filming.
Hey, I feel like I'm with Elvis' group. This is a fun deal. We just did a great podcast.
Tell them about your podcast.
Yeah, it's called A Fistfull of Dirt, and we put up a new one every Tuesday, and I've had a lot of great guests. Our format's a little different. We actually find interesting people and ask them questions.
And he kept looking, but all he found was us.
And we actually let them answer the questions. And the story these guys had, it was divine intervention. We met because not only did they pick up and move from California for all the right reasons, they landed 10 minutes from my house. And I said, we got to meet them. So I just reached out like a weird person. And commented something on there. I think I commented on Facebook and YouTube. I said, hey, if you want to vet me, I got an Instagram. And anyway, it worked out. We just did 2 parts. So it's going to be one this coming Tuesday, which is like September the 3rd or 4th or something like that. And the other part,
probably by the time this airs, that podcast will be fully out, I imagine.
But it's
maybe
2
we'll
parts.
see. It'll be 2 parts though. Yeah.
And
so,
now we're going to ride around and look at food plots, and I can show him where I stumped my toe. I have a bloody nose with food plots sometimes. I'm gonna show him all the mistakes I made to save them a bunch of time.
Yep, let's do it.
A little hidey hole in the woods here.
Look at that.
Well, this is the first food plot I planted. And I'm gonna show you this because something happened here that I didn't know was gonna happen. And I'm supposed to be the food plot guy. And I planted this food plot's hard because it's really small. Which tells you they don't have to be big. The biggest deer I've ever killed out here, I killed it right here. And I didn't get back here till 4:15, but it was during the rut. And it's a tiny, tiny little food plot. We call it the bow patch. I used to have everything set up for archery. And now I'm rethinking that and setting everything up for guns because the little kids, grandkids, they don't necessarily bow hunt. Yeah, this was all, these pines when I moved here were 3-4 feet tall. And this was one little opening I had here. And this was the first food plot I planted. But I'm going to show you this. It's got a swamp chestnut white oak.
Oh yeah.
Another swamp chestnut white oak. Right there. Since I started fertilizing this food plot, they'll drop almost every year. Those things are notorious for dropping like every third year. I disc it up with a tiller. And I planted the seed. Then I came in here with just my little hand thing, and I put ladino clover all over it, and kind of forgot about it, and hadn't messed with this. And I came back here the other day, and I was like, "Holy cow, the clover's going nuts! I don't even have to plant this one."
Right.
It's.
I thought you had planted this one.
I planted it last year.
Wow.
I came in here Saturday and just kind of mowed the tops of the weeds down, and I'm gonna come in here before the next rain and put some O-2020 and just fertilize it, and this will be.
Yeah, I thought you were about to show me something that you planted 6 weeks, 4 weeks ago.
Planted this last year. But
Wow.
but there's several different kinds of clover. Some of it's a perennial, which means it'll keep coming back. Some of it's annual. This is the first perennial I've had. Here's the deal too. When I first bought this place, I planted these trees when I moved here.
Oh, you planted these?
Yeah, forever.
These pines look like they're about 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, they're 17. They'll be 18 in February.
Okay.
That's pretty big for an 18-year-old pine. But we planted all these pines. This was open ground right here. And there was no deer cover when I got here. It was all open pasture. I saw on your video the other day you were talking about letting this area grow
I got
up.
about 5 acres I'm letting grow up.
I just saved your life, Michael.
Should be pretty good on spot. I said,
But there's a lot of grown up. There's some really good cover on the property bordering me.
yeah, but you,
So, which is good. I want to let some grow up on my property, but I'll be able to draw some deer in from other properties if I got good food, I think.
letting that stuff grow up though is the best thing you can do because people, they need food, cover, and water. And
Right.
Not one of those is more important than the other.
Right.
They're all important.
I just got hit in the head with a tree because I was leaning out trying to film you.
That's another little food plot. I just mowed it the other day. I got a lock on that tree right there. You can see it through there, that big stump there.
Yeah.
That's one spot that I'll mow and I'll just kind of put some grass in right there. But I wanted to utilize everything. They can tell you when pine trees get this tall that the deer won't use it for cover. And that's not true. All these places like this are sanctuaries. I don't go in there.
Oh, look at that oak tree.
Nice.
A bunch of, this is the food, this is the deer stand I just moved Saturday. It was over there. I had another little food plot going over there, but I came in here and opened this up some. So I'm going to till all this. I put a feeder there so I can get a camera going.
Yeah.
But 90% of my deer stands now are shooting houses that I made. And the reason I made them is like you were talking about cranking. I had the
Recycled barn roof tin
That's
and.
exactly. We had hail damage.
So now let me ask you this is an important question. Is that a mossy oak pattern?
No, that's I guess you would call that a woodland pattern. But I try to set it up for the kids, let them have a good place, and make them take some ownership in it. We're gonna have a work day a week from Saturday, and they'll all be out here, and we'll have wasp spray and brooms, and we'll be cleaning all those things out. But most people wouldn't utilize this. They say the timber's too tall. Not true. If you keep it a sanctuary and you don't go in them places, and the deer figure that out. What I would do on your place, if it was me, and it ain't none of my business, I'm like you. I'm like, you do you. I'll do me. I'm not gonna bother. I would go, especially the first year, not knowing what's around you. I would do as much tonnage as possible, because once they find those food plots, they're gonna keep coming back, coming back, coming back. You don't need a whole bunch of views and turnips and all that kind of stuff. First year,
Whatever creates the most tonnage of
which is probably going to be either wheat. What I plant instead of wheat most of the time is cereal rye, and not everybody plants around here. It's the best. It's the best thing I plant around here. Is cereal rye, because it's really hardy and it stays tender a long, long time.
And it creates a decent amount of tonnage.
Yes, and that's what you want. You want them deer to know there's something to eat right there. So instead of spending way more money on a really good blend of stuff, I would spend the money on making the food plot big and planting as much tonnage as I could, because you're planting one thing and you just kind of get your feet wet this year. That's what I would do. I would probably plant cereal rye, or winter wheat's good. Most people plant winter wheat. Some guys plant standard ryegrass, and that does nothing for the deer. It gets hard.
Oh.
It's just, people that plant ryegrass are doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for the creek. Cereal rye, they'll eat it down to the ground. The farmer cuts hay off of this, is why it looks so unkept. And I let him cut the hay and keep it all. But my only requirements, he does it in like September, late September, and that way all winter the grass will be short. You know, it'll look good. I just let him eat. It saves me so much money and time for him to cut it, and he takes the hay and the cattle get good out, so I just let him do it.
We just had somebody cut all our hay.
I saw the video. We got a new culvert out of the deal.
That's right.
That's right, we
It's a
did.
good trade.
Yes, sir.
That would have cost us $2,500 to have somebody rework that culvert.
You need to think about a place where you want to have some cover and you want to have a forest. You need to think about planting trees, because the pines they got now, super seedlings, they grow so fast once they get up to about 3 feet tall. And from the time they're about this high to about 10 or 11 feet, it's the most preferred deer cover there is around here.
Right. I should probably plant some pines in that area that I'm letting grow up then, huh?
Yeah, it's just, it's going to be good wildlife habitat for a long time. But see, this one I mowed, and I just, the way I would, this one's been mowed and I sprayed it with Roundup Saturday. So I'm going to let it sit about a week. And what that does, when I mow it down low and then spray it, that gives me the option to, if I want to, if I get behind on time or it gets real dry, I can drill it, you know, just back and forth like that. But with what you're digging into, I would probably disc it the first year, you know. And if you need a disc, if your tractor will run it, I have a small one that I don't use. You're welcome to come get it. If you can get your hands on a front end loader, you know, to take it off a trailer and put it on the ground, you're welcome to use my disc. I had a little disc, and I would run over it. If I had to run over it 10 times, I wanted to break all that grass up. And I had a big log, this big around, about 6 feet long, and I screwed some eyelets into it, and I put an old piece of fence behind it and laid bricks on it. And my last 2 or 3 passes, I'd be dragging it, kind of smooth it out, get you a seat. Yeah. I didn't have all the stuff I got now. I'm old, and I went and bought some stuff, but I had more fun doing it jury rigging stuff. But if you got a disc and you can hang something behind it, your last 3 or 4 passes, as long as you get that grass.
I've seen people drag it. It's just a piece of chain link fence behind it.
That's all you need. Yeah. And you do it, and you go out there and you spread the seed. You can buy them little old things that go around your chest at the co-op. And when you get through, you drag that chain link fence over it again. It covers it up. You got a good seed bed. It ain't rocket science.
Right.
That's another one of my homemade shooting house. made that out of plywood. And I'm not the best window guy in the world, but it's got carpet on the floor. We'll have a work day. We'll come clean all this up, vacuum it out, sweep it. But I make the grandkids do a lot of that.
Right.
So then they got some skin in the game.
Nothing like your sweet perfume on those summer nights. Nothing like your hand in mine, you and me feeling right. There ain't nothing like loving you.
It don't have to be a big place. You get some cover on there. I've already seen your videos. You got tons of water. And keeping it quiet, you're gonna have a honey hole of your own. But they do need some cover. Planting pines, you know, when they get 20 years old, you can sell them.
That's all feed corn there, isn't it? About to cut it. That's about to turn into a dove field, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what my wife said. This is the first year I haven't planted corn myself. But I just...
Well, you don't need to. You got a 20-acre dove field right here as soon as he cuts that.
Can you see where I ran out of Roundup? Didn't make my last pass. But this is some more of that. I sprayed this. This is the best food plot here for a lot of reasons. But I planted this clover last year, and I've been keeping an eye on it. It came up so thick. I'm gonna fertilize it again, and I'll probably get 3 or 4 or 5 years out of this. So you need to find you a spot where you can plant. Look at the bees; they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And all this stuff here, this yellow, and all that out there was cereal rye, and it stayed full of deer all season.
Wow.
And that's not, you wouldn't really say that's a lot of tonnage, but it stayed green all fall, and it's pretty cheap. This is the stand the guy had. He brought it up here, and he said, look, if you'll make me a video, a quality video that I can put on my website, I'll leave it here. So I immediately made him a good quality video. But if Pam comes and hunts, that's where she'll go. So,
You call that the
That's-
condo?
Yeah, that's the she shed up there.
yeah, that's what that is. It's the only factory shooting house I got. One of them. The rest of them we made them on. But you can see a lot from there. It's a good set, you know.
Yeah.
The sun goes down behind you. It's pretty neat. Like I say, it's not a real big place, but I covered most of it in pine trees because I had everything out here. I knew I could get plenty of food. And there's little ponds everywhere, but I didn't have any cover. But this place looked so much like y'all's place when I moved out here. It was just, you know, they were cutting hay off of it, running cows. None of this was here. None of the pine trees. It was just whatever was on the fence line.
Yep.
That's it. I always used to make this into a dove field. And for 17 years I planted corn and stuff down there for doves, and we had 2 good doves here.
Two.
My wife would just, I don't know why you go through all that trouble. And I say, no, we're gonna have doves this year, and we just never got them. So I'm just letting this grow up this year, and he'll come cut the hay out of it.
Oh, there's deer. Deer.
17 miles on the freeway.
Which I didn't get on camera.
Heading up in the wide open woods.
Yeah.
I got that stuff.
Yeah, I just
Tell
yelled
you
out
get
there was a
enough
deer
food
up
out
there,
there.
but it was running away from us.
I hadn't really done it right. That's why I planted corn. That's kind of bad.
Yeah, we just interrupted her dinner time there.
Yeah.
I'm in there in the shade because it's hot.
It's actually not too bad today. It's been nice. And it's not humid.
Yeah, I think we're definitely getting used to the weather.
Well,
I mean, it's
it's not like, we
really
came
hot.
from a hot place,
yeah, it's
you know?
really hot where we came from. So the humidity didn't take long to get used to.
There's a praying mantis going for a ride. Right on the front of there.
That's a big one.
I know it. That's cool. Oh, look at this.
When I moved out here, that pond was just for the cows. Matter of fact, the property line, it had a fence going all the way through the middle of it. I didn't own that over there. Ended up buying that. This was like 200 acres when we first got out here. But my boss gave me some really good advice. He's a big land guy. He knows a lot. He said, you need to spend more time on your ponds than you do your food plots. And I said, why? He said, because your family's going to spend more time at the ponds. And I was
And
like,
they are on the food plot.
and
Yeah.
back then, I was still like bow hunting crazy, and I never paid any attention to him. And I finally kind of redid the pond a little bit, and now every day, them grandsons are down here throwing them whatever they throw out there. They love the pond. And I've had terrible luck with it. I hired a guy to come in here and shock it and test it and put fish in it and all that kind of stuff, bass and brim, and the bass never did anything. So about 4 months ago, I put 350 catfish in it. So
There you go.
I'm more interested in it as a food source.
Yeah, I was just going to say, now you're talking about food.
Yeah, so I got 350. When I put catfish in it the first time, for 3 years, it was awesome. We catch catfish like this to that, anytime you come down there. And then they quit, shocked it and everything. And I was talking to all these bodies. They said, well, you either had a dog. I said, no, I'm there every day. I would see it. Or people's poaching. I said, no, it's 1.5 miles to the road. That ain't happening. They never could give me an answer. And I had an old trapper out here. We were shooting a segment. And I was telling him about the pond. He said, cuz, you got otters. I said, Mr. Willie, no offense, but I said, I've been here forever. I've never seen an otter. He caught 9 in a week. Them old trappers, they know more stuff. He walked me up through the woods. He said, come here and let me show you the toilet. And I said, what? That's what they call the place where they'll catch the fish and they'll go over there and eat them. And there was bones everywhere. So anyway, we trapped, I hope, the otters out of there, and I restocked it.
That's funny.
You know, the deer would come from this way, come from this way, come from this way, because there's 50 acres of it. Now it's thick, but it wasn't that big. But it was always, I knew the deer would come from it. And forever I didn't plant it, because it wasn't a good bedding area, it wasn't thick and all that. Anyway, bottom line is I started planting this, sat in it 2 or 3 times, every single deer came like that.
What's over there?
Nothing. Those planted pine trees, my drive, you see the driver right there.
Huh.
So I've learned, you know, to drive on past it, park down there and walk in this way. It's just like they will bed where they're comfortable and where they're not messed with. That's my point. You don't think your place is like as beautiful as it is. Everybody at deer hunt's gonna say that's too wide open. That's BS. Them deer will get comfortable, especially close to food. You don't bug them a lot. They will bed anywhere you got them.
I mean, that looks like pretty good bedding to me over there.
Yeah.
Or 50 horsepower will pull.
47, I believe it will.
If that helps.
Yeah, that'd be a good time.
Yeah, and you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have.
And then you can come over and see the place.
That's
and,
right.
you know,
Maybe we'll have to fire up the barbecue or
Oh,
something.
we will 100% will have to fire up the barbecue.
Or we'll just load up and go to No Way Jose.
Oh, there you go.
Hamburger steak, please.
That's right. There you go.
Like that too.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming over. I really do.
I thank you. man.
Y'all got my cell number,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I'm gonna hug your side
Aw,
here. Thank you
yes,
for
thank
that.
you.
Thank y'all for coming over and doing the thing.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here at 3 Mississippi with Cuz Strickland. Again, what's the name of your podcast there, Cuz?
It's called A Fistfull of Dirt, and it's G-rated. And they're
G-rated.
gonna be on it 2 weeks in a row.
That's right. I'm going to try to have this video ready to drop right after his first podcast. Always drop on Tuesday. So it's going to be a 2-parter ours because we just talked.
Because we talk a lot.
We talk a lot. And so there you have it. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for having us, Cuz. We had a great time. He gave us a beautiful tour of his property. I think Mike learned a lot about food plots. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to drop that link down below for Cuz's Fistfull of Dirt podcast. So make sure you go check it out. Show him some love. and tell them we sent you. See you on the next one.